Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to the Rise and Slay Talk Show. My name is Rochelle Slay, or Slay Queen Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success. So come on in, y'all. We're going to have another conversation, and this is the series of going from experience to influence. Okay, we are walking through these series. There are 4 episodes. We did last week's episode, and last week we talked about you've done slay amazing things. Now what? All right. So if you have not watched that episode, you can go onto my YouTube channel at Slay to Success, and you can watch that and binge watch a whole bunch of other videos in between this show, which airs on selected Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard, or the Slay to Success talk show, which airs on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I bring in a guest and we just have a mini conversation about leadership, personal branding, mindset, wellness. So you don't want to miss out on these shows. Okay. Now, come on in so that way I can recognize that you're here and that you came here live on this show, because you could have been anywhere else. And I appreciate your presence. I appreciate your support. And so I am here to help women leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, transitioning veterans who are highly qualified but overlooked, underrecognized, or even struggling to align their image, their visibility, and personal brand with a level of influence that they deserve. If you are that woman, okay, or you know of another woman, please make sure that you share this episode and the other episodes with them and invite them into the Slay to Success community. Okay, because we are on fire. We're solving this one problem. And this one problem that I have seen time and time again, of not being seen, not being remembered, or trusted, positioned at the level of the expertise that they already have. And the one thing that I am so good at doing, and I'm going to say this and be very bold about it, because I have several women leaders in particular who have decided to take matters into their own hands using the SLAY method, which I have created, that I not only used on myself, but now they are using to become more visible, credible, influential, and opportunity ready. And they are opportunity ready because they're attracting leadership positions, speaking engagements, media opportunities. They got clients. I just got a text message from one of my previous clients, and they just got a job that is in alignment with what they were seeking. So we celebrated yesterday, and I was like, yes, queen, that's what we doing. Okay. Whether or not you are looking to get a promotion or have greater impact. So I am a personal brand strategist, if you will, author of several different type of books, and talk show host of a couple of the shows today, and of course on Sunday night, like I was sharing before. I'm also an image consultant, a certified image consultant, and a lot of the experiences that I have received and have learned and now sharing lessons with you is from my 30-year military service in the United States Air Force. Huh? So I really understand the power of storytelling. And I just want to walk you through, because that's what we're going to talk about today. I have ran into so many women who are freezing up and are afraid to share their story. Maybe because it's painful, maybe there's a little guilt, maybe there's a little shame, right? Or we've been taught and conditioned, you don't share a lot. All right, you don't talk a lot about what you have been through. But I'm going to challenge each and one of us who are here or come back and listen to the replay that your story is your superpower. All right? So we're going to talk about what this means, and I'm going to answer some questions that I had out on the LinkedIn post. So for those that are following me on LinkedIn, thank you. Okay. There are some things that I'm going to share some insights on. And I just want you to get a pen and piece of paper, if you will, or get your phone out and go ahead and log in your notes. All right. So you can look back on them later today. What I have learned, y'all, is it doesn't matter how impressive your accomplishments are. People will not connect with just accomplishments. Last week I shared I am in my office and I have all of these plaques on my wall, all of these, standing memorabilia that I look at all the time. If I was to go through each one of them and share all the things, even myself will get overwhelmed. I'm not doing that. Okay. But when we do talk about our accomplishments all the time, every day, ad nauseum, it will turn people off. I have been in settings. I do a lot of networking. I do a lot of community activity, who just talk about what they've won, what they've been recognized by, and it, for me, I'm like, I want to know who you are. I want to know who you are. I'm tired of hearing about an award that I don't even know what that even stands for, right? So people connect with stories. They really do. The best storytellers that I know draw you in and allow you to experience who they are, what they've been feeling, giving you their challenges, their struggles, something that's very relatable to what we experience as human beings. And if you want to really build influence, increase your visibility, or grow your brand, you need to know how to tell your story. You really need to. So, how many times have you introduced yourself by listing your credentials or your titles? I'm going to tell you what I started to do when I left the military and I retired. Okay. I retired from the military. This is what I was doing when I first started out networking and meeting new people. I would say things like this: I'm a veteran. I'm a CEO. I'm an author. I'm a consultant. All right. These titles don't matter, because when you look in the sea of people, people were saying the same thing. And the differentiator was me twofold: sharing a story without saying a word. And then when I meet someone, sharing the right story that is in alignment with the setting and the people that are around you. All right. And so there are many of us that are missing out on the opportunity to connect because we don't know what to say. So, in what I do and the work that I do, either through a strategy session or through one of my transformational experiences, we walk through the SLAY method. Okay. So, I'll put the banner here so you can see exactly what the SLAY method stands for. But we build in this method that I have created, and so many of my clients have found so much success in. And so we don't want to miss any opportunities to connect. We're looking to attract opportunities and to inspire others. In this community, we value meaningful impact. We just don't do things just to be doing things. We are very intentional and purposeful because we have seen what it's like in the last chapter. And now we want to evolve and grow into something that we're creating more impact, more influence, going over and beyond. There's no cap, there's no limit. as to the opportunities that we can step into. We just need to be ready for them. And we need to have a structure, a framework to follow. So that way we can stay consistent, because that's one of the things that I know a lot of people are finding like they cannot keep up because they don't know exactly what to do. All right. I'm that person that tells you what to do. All right. Good morning, Queen. How you doing? Welcome to the Rise and Slay talk show. Thank you for being here live. Happy Tuesday, Queen. Okay. So we're just walking through how our stories are a superpower. So I'll share with you a mini story about a woman that I was working with. When she shared the story about her coming to the States and what that looked like, she's currently serving in the military. And the first time she told the story about how she came here, then she went to Chicago, stayed there for a little while, and then she went into the military. She had never shared her story up until then with anybody, not even the people that she has worked with. She said she didn't know how to share it, and she didn't know if it was important enough to share. And now she shares it all the time. She is a first sergeant, which is a first sergeant in the military, is um, someone who takes care of your well-being on all fronts, right? Um, Making sure that you're personally ready so that way you can go out and complete the mission. So financing, childcare, you know, making sure that you're getting promoted at the right times with, you know, inviting you to opportunities. There's a facet of things that she does. And now she shares with them her journey, her story, and that's allowing others to share their story so that they can connect on a deeper level. And she, again, she had not shared up until she was already in the military for like 16 years, y'all. And so I'm like, how is this possible? Well, because a lot of us don't think that our stories matter. And I'm here to tell you that they do. Now, most of you know that I retired in 2021. If you're new here, welcome to the Slay to Success community. All right. But I retired from the military in 2021. We took a risk, a big risk, and came out here from South Dakota, moved here to Maryland. And I quickly realized that people didn't understand what a command chief did. That was my title position, my last title position when before I retired. No one knew what that was. And I was actually saying these things out loud as if they knew already. And it did not land very well. I left a lot of different conversations frustrated, isolated, a little bit like in despair that no one would understand or get the journey, or I wouldn't be able to fit into community or have this sense of belonging. Um, and so I had to reframe and rethink about how I was going to introduce myself. And I could have spent all my time talking about my rank, my responsibilities, and my accomplishments, but that wasn't going to create connection. And in the world that we are in Slay to Success, and then Slay Nation, we are connectors. We are building a community. All of us have a community. And so we are building our communities based on connections and relationships. And what I started to share, especially when, you know, it was like, because a lot of us as women, we struggle with our weight or with our health, right? And if I was in conversation and someone was like, man, I am really struggling to lose these last 10 pounds, or, you know, I'm hitting a different season in my life, that's when I start to share about my weight loss journey. All right. It's just the natural. But I had to learn that that was a story that I can share. And how do I share? And I share about my struggles and my pains of being bullied, being laughed at, not really having the confidence that I do have now, right? And that was just created through my journey in the military and building and strengthening it over years. So I talk about that and how I've been able to maintain my weight loss, which is a 60-pound weight loss for decades now. um, I had the story of serving in the military for 30 years. Now, I have to be very careful about which of the stories that I want to share, especially in environments where there is not a lot of military people, right, who can't resonate. So we got to make sure that the stories that we're sharing are relevant. And then I also talk about the reinvention. This is probably where I spend a lot of the time talking through the storylines about my reinvention after military service and how I went from being in the uniform in a very highly conforming environment to now being an entrepreneur and taking these big risks and having myself out here, hanging myself out here and doing something that most people would think, I don't, I can't do that. It's well past my time. I'm too old. I don't have it in me. I don't have enough courage to step out there. Okay, so I talk that through and I'm really helping people to see that you can become more visible. And it's a little bit easier because we've been through the fire. All right, we've been through a lot of things and now we're on the other side and we can share that. Now, I know the biggest storytelling mistake that I have seen, and maybe you have seen or heard of one outside of what I'm going to share, and please share that in the chat if you have. But I think most people don't share their story because it's not dramatic enough. Okay. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles to make people be like, oh my gosh, like, wow. Like people have those types of stories. Don't get me wrong. And like, I want to hear these stories, but don't let that stop you from telling your story because you don't think it's good enough. Okay. You don't think you've had, a lot going on in the story to actually share. And the only thing that your story has to do, it has to be relatable. And that in itself, anyone has a story. Everyone has a story. All right. It doesn't have to be about being extraordinary. All right. Just think about some things. Okay. And I'm going to give you some stories that every leader, every woman professional, anyone in this community should know. And number one is that you need to have a story about your most defining moment in your life, the most defining moment, and ask yourself what experience changed the way you think, you lead, or show up in the world. Okay. What is the one defining moment? Again, for me, retirement was one of those moments. It's the most defining moment for me. I could have easily just sat outside in my rocking chair. I got a rocking chair as a going away present when I retired. It's a really nice rocking chair, y'all. And I could be the neighborhood watch. I could sit out there. I can let people know, hey, what went on for the day and just call it a day. I mean, just call it, right? I decided that's not what I wanted to do. All right. I decided to take a pivot and do something completely different than what I was doing in the military. So, what is your defining moment? Secondly, what is a challenge that you have overcame? Maybe it was finding your voice. Maybe it was coming out of your comfort zone. Maybe it was, having a tough conversation with your partner. Okay. Whatever the most challenging thing that you have overcome, because people are inspired by resilience. They want to hear the story. I often say now, because I heard this on a panel, the people in this community are on the side of hope. Okay. And when we talk about hope, we are pointing to resilience. And so we are looking and talking and walking like we are on the other side of hope. So all of us has a story about resilience. So what has that taught you? All right? And what did it teach you something valuable? What setback became a lesson for you? And what challenge shaped your character? These are the things that people want to hear. So I'm encouraging you, and actually a little bit of pleading, begging, that you don't hold back from the stories that people actually need to hear to connect with you, because it is your superpower. And lastly, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? I have to go over this a lot. So let me just back up. When I was in the military, y'all, I had to have a list of whys. Because when one why wasn't working, I was like, what's the next why? And when that one why wasn't working for the day, what's the next one? I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get to the finish line. But I had to look at these whys, right? And now I have one why, a why I wake up every single day. Because when I confront another woman who has been hiding in the shadows after they have been well accomplished, and they don't want people to know, but yet and still they have this dream and this vision of getting out there in front and really owning and occupying the space for which they want to occupy, I'm like, there's work to do. And I run into a lot of women who are still in that mindset. They're in the transitional phase right now, right? From either like a career or maybe a relationship or from a business aspect. You're in a public facing role, you're in transition. And so, how do you get to that point? I'm here to help you. Again, we go walk through the slave method, either through one of my transformational experiences, which I'll share here in a little bit. But you need to know why you do what you do. And please, it's not your job description, it is not your title. What does your work matter to you? Or why does your work matter to you? People are buying into purpose because that's what they buy before products, services, or expertise. I just want you to keep that in mind, especially as you continue out doing amazing things. So people are buying into your purpose. So influence, really, because that's really what we are striving for, is influence. Yes, we can have all the accomplishments, but we're looking to influence decisions, influence communities, influence our families, influence the next generation. And it's not by telling people how successful you are. It's really about people seeing themselves in the story. All right, making it more relatable. And when they hear your journey and they start to think, I felt that, or I've experienced that, or I want that. That's when the connection happens. And that's when trust happens. And that's when influence begins. That is what we are trying to achieve. So, again, we'll go over because we're almost to the 30-minute mark, and I'm just going to be here because y'all, today is voting day. Okay. So you're going to see me out here with my little sticker because I'm about to go and get my vote on, because it is an exercise that I think we all need to, or it's a right that we all need to exercise. Right. So I'm going to get on out here. But I went over today about why your story is your superpower, and understand your story. I told you about the biggest storytelling mistake, which is people not thinking that their story is very extraordinary or dramatic enough. And so they withhold it. And you don't know. We have all been called, all right, to create impact that only you can create. And so you've got to be mindful, right, of what story you're sharing. It doesn't have to be perfect, all right, because people connect and reflect on their own struggles, their own challenges, their own dreams, their own aspirations. And the three stories you should know is the story of your defining moment, the challenge that you've overcome, and your why. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and put into the put out my Slate to Success resources. Okay, there's a QR scan code there. You can scan it. You can go back and listen to this video again and scan it when you can. And I really want you to connect with me either through LinkedIn, because that's the platform that I'm on every day. You can subscribe to my email list. You can ask about my audit. Okay, I have a Slate to Success audit that's complimentary because I'm trying to get us all right. Okay, I'm trying to get us all out here and to Slate to Success. That is the goal. All right. And slay means to kill it, to dominate it, and to nail it, to be on point, to impress greatly, and to dream big and work hard until you own it. That is what we are doing. But we got to have a way to get there. And I've created the way. I'm the trailblazer. All right. I'm like, listen, I call you out in a good way. That way you can do what you said that you wanted to do, but create a personal brand so you're attracting and being opportunity ready. So that is the discussion for today, y'all. Hopefully that resonated with you. If it did, go ahead and put it into the comments when you come back. Share it with someone who you think will need it. All right. And next week, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to build your authority in your industry. Okay. Because this is the series called From Experience to Influence series. And this was the second episode. And next week, we're going to have a third episode. And so hopefully you will come back and I will see you then. That's right. Hashtag Slate to Success, Kendra. That's what we're doing. Kendra is yet another woman veteran who retired here recently, and she is slaying all the things, okay? Because that's what we do in Slay Nation. We don't let the grass grow too far underneath our feet, okay? Because we got some work to do out here. So keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. Thank you, Kendra, for being here live with me as well. Chevy, thank you so much for being here live with me. And we will see each other next week. All right. See y'all soon. Love y'all. Bye-bye.
Yeah.